The air in Eleanor's bookstore was thick with the scent of leather and old paper, a comforting aroma that wrapped around her like a familiar embrace. She moved quietly among the shelves, her fingers tracing the spines of books that whispered their secrets only to her. The shop, nestled in the heart of the Vale, was a haven for lost stories and those who sought them. It was just before midnight, and Eleanor's heart quickened with anticipation. She had grown accustomed to the nightly visits from the spirits, their presence as much a part of her life as the books themselves. Yet, there was one spirit whose arrival she awaited with a mix of trepidation and longing. As the clock struck 12, a soft rustling filled the air, like pages turning in an invisible breeze. Shadows gathered in the corners, taking on forms that flickered and danced, each one distinct yet ephemeral. Eleanor stood at the center of it all, her presence a beacon for those trapped between worlds. "Good evening, my friends," she greeted softly, her voice carrying a warmth that belied the chill in the room. The spirits responded with murmurs and sighs, their ethereal voices blending into a haunting symphony. Among them, a figure emerged, more defined than the rest. Nathaniel. His form shimmered like moonlight on water, his features both sharp and blurred as if seen through a veil of mist. His eyes met Eleanor's, and for a moment, the world held its breath. "Eleanor," he said, his voice rich and resonant, a melody that lingered long after the words had faded. "Nathaniel," she replied, her heart skipping at the sound of his name. "What story do you bring me tonight?" He smiled, a ghost of an expression that seemed to light up the room. "A tale of love and loss," he began, his words weaving a tapestry of emotion that wrapped around them both. As he spoke, Eleanor listened intently, her own memories stirring in response to the narrative he spun. Their conversations were more than mere exchanges. They were journeys into realms where time and space held no sway. Nathaniel's stories were filled with echoes of lives once lived, each one a thread in the intricate tapestry of the Vale's history. "Do you ever wonder," Nathaniel mused during a pause, "why some stories linger while others fade?" Eleanor considered this, her gaze drifting to the shelves lined with forgotten tomes. "Perhaps because they still have something to teach us," she said thoughtfully. "Or maybe they're waiting for someone to listen." Nathaniel nodded, his eyes holding hers with an intensity that sent a shiver down her spine. "And what do you seek to learn from these tales?" She hesitated, the question piercing through her defenses. "I seek understanding," she admitted quietly. "Of myself, of this place, of you." His expression softened. "And have you found it?" "I'm not sure," she confessed, "but I feel closer every night." Their dialogue was interrupted by a sudden gust of wind that swept through the shop, extinguishing the candles and plunging them into darkness. Eleanor felt Nathaniel's presence waver, as if caught in a struggle between staying and being pulled away. "Stay!" she whispered urgently, reaching out instinctively. His form flickered like a candle struggling against the wind. "I will return," he promised, his voice barely audible above the rising storm. And then he was gone, leaving Eleanor alone with the shadows and silence. The next day dawned with a sky painted in hues of gray and gold, casting a muted light over the Vale. Eleanor opened her shop as usual, though her thoughts lingered on Nathaniel's departure. The town bustled around her, its inhabitants going about their routines with an air of quiet acceptance. As she arranged new arrivals on the shelves, a chime echoed through the store, a customer entering. She turned to see an unfamiliar face, a man with an air of scholarly curiosity and eyes that seemed to hold secrets of their own. "Good morning," he greeted with a nod. "I hope I'm not intruding." "Not at all," Eleanor replied with practiced ease. "Is there something specific you're looking for?" He smiled enigmatically. "I'm searching for tales of old curses and forgotten loves." Eleanor's interest piqued. "You've come to the right place," she said, gesturing to the rows of books surrounding them. "The Vale is full of such stories." As they spoke, Eleanor felt an inexplicable connection to this stranger, a sense that his arrival was no mere coincidence. Their conversation danced around topics of legend and lore, each exchange revealing layers of mystery that mirrored her own life. "Do you believe in curses?" he asked suddenly, his tone probing yet gentle. Eleanor hesitated before answering. "I believe in possibilities," she said finally. "That there are forces beyond our understanding at work here." The man's gaze lingered on her for a moment longer than necessary before he nodded thoughtfully. Perhaps we can explore those possibilities together. His words hung in the air like an unspoken promise, one that set Eleanor's heart racing with both excitement and apprehension. As he left the shop with a book tucked under his arm, Eleanor watched him disappear into the mist-laden streets. She felt a stirring within her, a call to action that could not be ignored. That night, as midnight approached once more, Eleanor stood ready amid flickering candles and whispering shadows. Her heart thrummed with anticipation, not just for Nathaniel's return, but for what lay ahead in this dance between past and present. Reality and imagination, love and loss. The clock struck 12 again, an echoing chime marking another step towards unraveling the veil's mysteries, and Eleanor knew there would be no turning back now. The journey had begun anew, its path uncertain but its destination clear. Discovery awaited beyond these cobblestone streets, where magic thrived beneath twilight skies, and perhaps even redemption for those brave enough to seek it out amidst whispers of salt-kissed secrets carried by restless spirits longing for release, and love unbound by mortal chains. Eleanor stood behind the counter of her bookstore, the air thick with the familiar scent of aged paper and ink. The shop was quiet now, the last customer having left hours ago. She ran her fingers over the spines of the books, feeling their stories pulse beneath her touch. The mist outside pressed against the windows, a gentle reminder of the world beyond the veil. The clock on the wall ticked towards midnight, its rhythm a steady heartbeat in the silence. Eleanor glanced at it, anticipation mingling with a pang of loneliness. Her days were filled with customers and conversations, but it was the nights she lived for, the moments when the spirits came seeking solace. As the hands aligned at 12, a soft rustling filled the room. Shadows gathered in corners, coalescing into figures that shimmered like reflections on water. Eleanor greeted them with a nod, her voice steady and warm. "Welcome, friends!" A chorus of whispers answered her, voices layered with echoes of lives once lived. Eleanor listened, weaving their tales into a tapestry of words that soothed and comforted. But even as she spoke, her gaze drifted towards the corner where Nathaniel always appeared. Tonight, he was late. The door creaked open, and Eleanor's heart skipped, but it was only a gust of wind, carrying with it the scent of salt and secrets. She sighed, turning back to her ethereal audience, when a familiar voice cut through the murmur. "Eleanor." She turned sharply, eyes meeting Nathaniel's. He stood by the poetry section, his form as insubstantial as smoke, yet undeniably present. His eyes held hers with an intensity that made her breath catch. "Nathaniel," she said softly, a smile tugging at her lips despite herself. He drifted closer, his movements fluid and graceful. "I didn't mean to keep you waiting. You never do." Her voice was light, but there was an undercurrent of something deeper, something unspoken between them. Nathaniel's presence was a balm to her aching heart, a reminder that even in death, connection endured. They talked of many things, of books and dreams and memories that danced on the edge of remembrance. Their conversation flowed like a river, carrying them along with its current. "Eleanor," he said suddenly, his tone shifting to something more serious. "Have you heard about the curse? The one that binds spirits to this town?" She frowned, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "I've heard whispers. It's more than whispers." Nathaniel's voice was low, urgent. "It's real, and it's tied to an ancient betrayal." Eleanor's interest piqued. "What do you know?" "Not enough," he admitted, "but I believe it's connected to why I'm here, why I can't move on." The weight of his words settled over her like a shroud. She had known there was more to Nathaniel's lingering presence, but hearing it confirmed brought a new dimension to their relationship. "I want to help you," she said finally, her resolve firming. Nathaniel's gaze softened, gratitude flickering in his eyes. "Together, then? Together." Their pact forged, Eleanor felt a renewed sense of purpose coursing through her veins. She would uncover the truth behind the curse, a truth that might free Nathaniel or bind him forever. As they spoke of plans and possibilities, Eleanor's thoughts strayed to the other inhabitants of the Vale, the eccentric historian, the reclusive artist, and the mysterious old woman who seemed to know more than she let on. Each held pieces of the puzzle she sought to solve. The night wore on, and as dawn approached, Nathaniel faded into the mist, leaving Eleanor alone once more with her thoughts and the promise of what lay ahead. When morning light crept through the windows, she stepped out into the Vale's cobblestone streets. The air was cool and damp, carrying with it an undercurrent of magic that pulsed beneath her feet. She walked with purpose, each step bringing her closer to answers, and perhaps closer to losing Nathaniel forever. In this world, where love and danger walked hand in hand, every choice carried consequences. She was only beginning to understand. But for now, there was only the promise of discovery and the thrill of unraveling secrets long buried beneath layers of time and mystery. Eleanor paused at the threshold of her shop, glancing back at the clock tower standing sentinel over the Vale. Its hands remained frozen in time, a reminder that some things were meant to endure, while others were destined to change. With a deep breath, she stepped into the day, ready to face whatever awaited her in this place where reality bent and blurred at its edges. A place where anything could happen, and everything was possible. The mist hung low over the Vale, a shroud of silver that softened the edges of reality. Eleanor walked the cobblestone path leading to her bookstore, the air thick with the scent of salt and secrets. Her heart was a metronome, steady yet heavy, as if it beat in time with the ancient clock tower that loomed over the district, its hands forever frozen. Inside the shop, the world was hushed and expectant. Books lined the walls like sentinels, their spines worn and whispered histories locked within their pages. Eleanor moved through the aisles, her fingers tracing the familiar contours of leather and paper, each touch a conversation with the past. She paused at a window, gazing out at the twilight that never seemed to fade. "Are you ready for tonight?" The voice was soft, almost a caress. Eleanor turned to find Nathaniel standing by the counter, his form barely more substantial than a shadow. "As ready as I'll ever be," she replied, allowing herself a small smile. His presence was a balm, soothing yet stirring emotions she thought long dormant. Nathaniel drifted closer, his gaze intense and searching. "The spirits are restless tonight. There's talk of change." Eleanor nodded. She had felt it too, a tremor beneath the surface of things, like an unspoken promise or a threat. "I've been hearing whispers," she said, "about a curse, an ancient love story gone wrong." He tilted his head, curiosity mingling with something deeper. "Do you believe them?" "I don't know," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "But I have to find out." Their eyes locked, a silent understanding passing between them. This quest for truth was as much about the town's past as it was about her own future, a future where Nathaniel's presence might no longer be just a comforting mystery. The clock struck midnight, its chimes resonating through the shop like a summons. The air shifted, growing thicker with anticipation as the spirits began to gather. They appeared gradually, figures flickering into view like candle flames in a gentle breeze. Eleanor greeted them with quiet grace, listening to their stories and weaving them into new tales, offering solace where she could. Yet her thoughts kept returning to Nathaniel and the curse that might bind them all. As the last spirit faded into the night, leaving behind only echoes of laughter and sorrow, Eleanor turned to Nathaniel. "Will you help me?" she asked, her voice steady but edged with vulnerability. His smile was sad and knowing. "I will be with you for as long as I can." They stood together in silence, surrounded by books and shadows, both aware of the ticking countdown that marked their time. The following day, Eleanor ventured deeper into the Vale's secrets. The cobblestones felt alive beneath her feet, whispering tales of yesteryear as she made her way to the market beneath the clock tower. Here, reality bent and blurred at the edges, a place where anything seemed possible. She found herself drawn to a stall manned by an eccentric historian named Alaric, known for his wild tales and rumored encounters with mythical beings. His eyes twinkled with mischief as he spoke of dancing with fairy queens and conversing with ancient deities. "Tell me about the curse," Eleanor urged, leaning in to catch his every word. Alaric chuckled softly, his gaze far away. "Ah, the curse of the Vale. A tale as old as time itself, a love betrayed, a vow broken. They say it binds the spirits here until true love sets them free." "Do you believe it's real?" she pressed. He shrugged, enigmatic as ever. "In the Vale, belief shapes reality. Who's to say what's true and what isn't?" Eleanor left the market with more questions than answers, her heart heavy with uncertainty. As she wandered back through the mist-laden streets, she pondered Alaric's words and the fragile line between belief and truth. Back at the bookstore, Nathaniel awaited her return. His presence was like a warm embrace, both comforting and bittersweet. "What did you learn?" he asked gently. "That our fate might hinge on an old story," Eleanor replied, meeting his gaze with determination. "And that love might be our only hope." Their conversation lingered in the air like an unspoken promise, a dance with shadows in a world where nothing was certain. As night fell once more over the vale, Eleanor stood at the threshold of her shop, gazing out into the misty expanse beyond. She felt Nathaniel beside her, his presence as real as any living soul. Together they faced the unknown, bound by a connection that defied explanation, a bond forged in whispers and dreams. And as they waited for what lay ahead, Eleanor knew that whatever came next would change everything. The countdown had begun. The mist clung to the veil like a lover unwilling to part, each droplet a whispered secret lost to time. Eleanor stepped out of her bookstore, the ancient door creaking shut behind her, its sound swallowed by the thick, damp air. She paused on the cobblestone street, her breath mingling with the mist as she surveyed the world beyond. A realm teetering between the ordinary and the extraordinary. The clock tower loomed above, its hands forever frozen at a forgotten hour. Beneath its shadow, the night market flickered to life, lanterns casting a golden glow that danced across the faces of those who dared to wander its stalls. Eleanor felt the familiar pull of the place, an undercurrent of magic that thrummed through her veins. "Good evening, Eleanor," a voice called, smooth and melodic, yet tinged with an otherworldly echo. She turned to find Nathaniel standing beside her, his form as insubstantial as the mist itself. His eyes held the depth of an ocean at twilight, vast, mysterious, and filled with unspoken longing. "Nathaniel," she replied, a smile tugging at her lips despite herself. "I didn't expect to see you so soon." "Time is different for me," he said, his words carrying a weight that belied their simplicity. Moments blur together like the fog. They walked side by side through the market, an invisible thread weaving between them. Around them, merchants peddled wares both mundane and magical, a book that whispered its contents to curious readers, vials of perfume that evoked memories from another lifetime. Eleanor paused at a stall draped in velvet, where a reclusive artist displayed his paintings, each canvas capturing moments just before they happened. One painting caught her eye, a woman standing at the edge of a cliff, her gaze fixed on the horizon as if waiting for something or someone. "Do you believe in destiny?" Eleanor asked softly, her eyes lingering on the painting. Nathaniel's gaze followed hers. "I believe in choices," he replied, "and in the stories we weave from them." His words hung in the air between them, a gentle reminder of the path she had chosen, the quest to uncover the truth behind the town's whispers and curses. Yet beneath that quest lay another truth, one she hesitated to face, the possibility that breaking the curse could mean losing Nathaniel forever. As if sensing her thoughts, Nathaniel spoke again. "Eleanor, do you ever wonder what binds us to this place?" She nodded, her heart heavy with the question that had haunted her since his first appearance. "I think about it often," she admitted, "but answers seem as elusive as the mist." They continued through the market, their conversation flowing like a river, sometimes swift and urgent, other times meandering and contemplative. Each word spoken was a step closer to understanding, yet also a reminder of how much remained unknown. At last they reached the edge of the vale, where cobblestones gave way to wild grasses and the distant sea whispered its eternal song. Here, beneath a canopy of stars that twinkled like scattered diamonds, they paused. "Eleanor," Nathaniel began, his voice barely more than a breath against the night. "There is something you must know." Her heart quickened at his tone, an undercurrent of urgency that set her pulse racing. "What is it?" she asked, holding his gaze. "The curse! It is tied to love!" he revealed, a love that defied time and death, but was betrayed by fear. Eleanor's mind raced with possibilities, of ancient lovers torn apart by fate, their spirits bound to this place by regret and longing. Yet amidst these thoughts came another realization. Her growing connection to Nathaniel was more than mere companionship. It was part of something much larger. "What does this mean for us?" she asked, her voice trembling with both hope and fear. Nathaniel's eyes softened, his ethereal hand reaching out as if to touch hers, a gesture that spoke volumes despite its impossibility. "It means our choices matter," he said gently, "and perhaps our story is not yet written." The weight of his words settled over Eleanor like a mantle, a challenge and a promise intertwined. She knew then that whatever lay ahead would test both her courage and her heart. As they stood together beneath the starlit sky, two souls bound by secrets and shadows, Eleanor felt an undeniable shift within herself. It was as if she had crossed an invisible threshold into unknown territory, where love danced with danger and every step carried profound consequences. Yet amidst this uncertainty came clarity. She could not turn back now, not when so much depended on what lay ahead. With newfound resolve burning bright within her chest, a beacon guiding her through darkness, Eleanor turned towards Nathaniel once more. "Then let us write it together!" she declared boldly. And though neither knew where their journey would lead or what trials awaited them along its path, they faced it united by choice rather than circumstance, a testament to love's enduring power even beyond life's final breath. In that moment, a moment suspended between reality's grasp and imagination's flight, their shared destiny began anew beneath the veil's watchful gaze. The mist clung to the cobblestones like a shroud, wrapping the veil in its familiar embrace. Eleanor stood at the threshold of her bookstore, inhaling the salty air that whispered of distant seas and forgotten secrets. The ancient clock tower loomed above, its hands frozen in a silent testament to time's peculiarities in this part of the world. Midnight approached, and with it, the promise of another gathering. Eleanor's heart thrummed with anticipation and a touch of trepidation. The spirits would come, as they always did, their ethereal presence filling the shop with a spectral warmth. Yet tonight felt different, charged with an energy that tingled at the edges of her awareness. As the clock struck 12, Eleanor watched as the familiar figures materialized around her. They drifted through the shelves like whispers on the wind, their translucent forms casting no shadows. Her gaze lingered on one figure in particular, Nathaniel. His appearance was as comforting as ever, a beacon of warmth amidst the spectral crowd. "Eleanor," Nathaniel's voice was a soft melody, wrapping around her like a favorite song long forgotten. "Tonight feels significant." She nodded, unable to suppress a smile. "I've sensed it, too. There's something more in the air tonight." Their conversations always danced around unspoken truths, a delicate interplay of words and silences that left Eleanor yearning for more. Nathaniel's presence was a balm to her soul, a connection she had never anticipated but now could not imagine living without. "What stories will you weave for us tonight?" Nathaniel asked, his gaze steady and piercing. Eleanor hesitated, her mind racing through the labyrinth of tales she knew by heart. "Perhaps one of love and loss," she said finally, "a story where hope lingers even in the darkest corners." The spirits gathered closer, drawn to her words like moths to a flame. Eleanor began to speak, her voice weaving a tapestry of longing and redemption. As she spoke, the shop transformed around them, each sentence conjuring images that danced in the air. A lover's embrace, a tearful farewell, an enduring promise made beneath a star-studded sky. Nathaniel listened intently, his expression a mixture of admiration and melancholy. "You have a gift, Eleanor," he murmured when she paused for breath. "These stories, they heal us." "Do they?" Eleanor's voice was barely above a whisper. "Or do they simply remind us of what we can never have?" He reached out, his hand hovering just above hers, a gesture both intimate and achingly distant. "They remind us that we're not alone," he said softly. The night wore on, and as Eleanor continued to spin her tales, she felt the familiar tug of curiosity, an insistent pull towards something hidden within the veil's tangled history. The curse that bound these spirits here was no mere legend. She could feel it woven into the very fabric of the town. "Have you ever wondered about the curse?" she asked Nathaniel suddenly, her voice cutting through the murmurs of the other spirits. He regarded her thoughtfully. "I have, but I fear what uncovering it might mean." Eleanor met his gaze with determination. "I need to know," she said. "For all of you. For us." Nathaniel sighed, a sound like rustling leaves. "Then you must seek out Madame Verity." The name sent a shiver down Eleanor's spine. Madame Verity was a figure shrouded in mystery, known for her knowledge of the Vale's darkest secrets. Approaching her would not be without risk. "Will you come with me?" Eleanor asked, her voice tinged with vulnerability. Nathaniel hesitated, his form flickering like candlelight in a breeze. "I cannot leave this place," he admitted reluctantly. "But I will be with you in spirit." Eleanor nodded, steeling herself for the path ahead. The spirits began to fade as dawn approached, leaving her alone with her thoughts and the lingering scent of salt and stories. With Nathaniel's words echoing in her mind, Eleanor resolved to visit Madame Verity. She would uncover the truth behind the curse, even if it meant facing dangers that lay hidden in the shadows. As the first light of morning crept over the vale, Eleanor felt a renewed sense of purpose. The countdown had begun, and every step brought her closer to an answer that could change everything. She closed her eyes briefly, imagining Nathaniel beside her as she embarked on this journey. A journey fraught with peril, yet brimming with possibility. Eleanor stood at the threshold of her bookstore, the mist swirling around her like a living entity. The air was thick with the scent of salt and secrets, whispering promises of stories yet untold. She drew her shawl closer, feeling the familiar ache in her heart, the one that had lingered since her husband's passing. Yet tonight, as every night, there was a flicker of something else, a spark ignited by the presence of Nathaniel. Inside, the shop was a labyrinth of shadows and forgotten tales. Books lined the shelves like sentinels, their spines worn and whispering histories that only she could hear. As the clock struck midnight, the air shifted and the spirits began to gather, their forms ethereal and shimmering in the dim light. Nathaniel appeared last, his presence as comforting as it was enigmatic. His voice, when he spoke, resonated deep within her being, a melody that stirred memories she had long buried. "Eleanor," he said softly, his form flickering like a candle flame. "Have you found anything new about the curse?" She hesitated, her fingers brushing against the spine of an ancient tome. "Only whispers," she replied. "But there are pieces that seem to fit together, a love story doomed by betrayal, a curse binding spirits to this town." Nathaniel's gaze was intense, holding hers with an unspoken promise. "And if you break the curse?" Her heart clenched at the thought. "I might lose you," she whispered. He reached out, his ghostly hand hovering just above hers, an echo of touch. "Would you risk it? To free us all?" Eleanor closed her eyes, feeling the weight of his question. The stakes were high. Each day brought them closer to an irreversible fate. Yet, amidst the uncertainty, there was a burgeoning hope for renewal, a chance to rewrite their stories. Their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of another spirit, a young woman with eyes like storm clouds. Her presence was electric, charged with urgency. "Eleanor," she implored, her voice carrying an edge of desperation. "The curse is unraveling faster than we thought. You must hurry!" Eleanor nodded, feeling the countdown pressing against her consciousness. "I'll do what I can," she promised. As the spirits faded into the ether, Eleanor remained in the shop's embrace, her thoughts a tangled web of possibilities and fears. The Vale was a place where reality bent and blurred at the edges, where love and danger walked hand in hand. The following day, Eleanor ventured deeper into the Vale, seeking answers among its residents. The cobblestone streets wove through a tapestry of history and mystery, each corner holding secrets waiting to be uncovered. She found herself at the doorstep of an eccentric historian, a man whose mind seemed as labyrinthine as her bookstore. "Ah, Eleanor," he greeted her with a flourish. "Come to dance with fairies, or perhaps seek truths hidden in shadows." His words were cryptic, yet she sensed a glimmer of understanding beneath them. "I'm looking for answers about the curse," she explained. "Do you know anything?" He chuckled, his eyes twinkling with mischief. "Curses are like old songs, full of heartache and longing. But sometimes they need only a new verse to change their tune." Eleanor pondered his words as she left his home, her thoughts weaving between the possible and the impossible. Her next stop was an artist's studio, a place where canvases captured moments just before they happened. The artist was reclusive, his demeanor shrouded in mystery. "Eleanor," he acknowledged, without looking up from his work. "What brings you to my sanctuary?" "The curse," she replied simply. "I need to understand it." He paused, his brush hovering over the canvas. "Curses are born from pain, but can be undone by love," he said finally. "Perhaps you hold the key within yourself." His words lingered in her mind as she continued her journey through the veil. Each encounter brought her closer to understanding the intricacies of the curse and her own heart. As twilight descended upon the town, Eleanor found herself standing before an ancient clock tower, a landmark and guardian watching over the veil's secrets. Beneath its shadow, she felt a connection to something greater than herself, a force that bound her to Nathaniel and the spirits who sought solace within her shop. The market below came alive with merchants peddling wares both mundane and magical. Lanterns cast a golden glow that flickered like candlelight in a gentle breeze. Here, amidst whispers of enchantment and possibility, Eleanor felt a glimmer of hope. Returning to her bookstore that evening, she found Nathaniel waiting for her, a specter caught between worlds yet tethered by love. "Did you find what you were seeking?" he asked gently. She nodded slowly. "I think so, but it means facing choices I never imagined." His gaze softened with understanding. "Whatever you decide, know that I will stand by you." Their conversation was laden with tension and revelation, an exploration of identity, memory, and human connection that transcended even death's boundaries. As midnight approached once more, Eleanor stood at the crossroads of destiny, poised to uncover truths hidden within the veil's shadows while grappling with emotions as vast as eternity itself. In this place where every step taken could lead to discovery or peril, where love intertwined with danger, Eleanor knew that whatever path she chose would forever alter not only her fate, but also those whose stories she had woven into her own narrative tapestry. With determination burning brightly within her heart, a fire kindled by Nathaniel's presence, she prepared to face whatever lay ahead in this world where magic and reality danced together beneath an indigo sky painted in hues of twilight dreams.